April 10, 1912, the RMS Titanic was preparing to leave Southampton for her maiden voyage across the Atlantic Ocean. Even before leaving the harbor, the world's largest passenger ship had already captured global attention. With her enormous size, for towering funnels and magnificent design, Titanic was considered the greatest engineering achievement of her time. Thousands of people gathered along the harbor to witness the departure of this extraordinary vessel. Once on board, passengers stepped into a world of luxury. Grand staircases, elegant dining halls, luxurious cabins, and the most modern facilities of the era surrounded them. Every detail had been carefully designed to create an unforgettable journey. Titanic was far more than a passenger ship. She was a symbol of human ambition and technological progress. The ropes were released, and the massive ship slowly left Southampton behind. As people waved from the shore, Titanic began her historic voyage across the Atlantic Ocean. The first hours passed peacefully. The sea was calm, passengers enjoyed the fresh ocean air, and life on board continued as usual. No one could have imagined that within hours, history would change forever. Late that night, a lookout spotted something directly ahead. An enormous iceberg had appeared in Titanic's path. The warning immediately reached the bridge, and the officers ordered a hard turn to starboard while attempting one final maneuver. But the distance was simply too short. Many passengers felt nothing more than a slight vibration. At first, everything appeared normal, but deep below the waterline, the iceberg had ripped through several sections of the ship's steel hull. Seawater rushed inside at an alarming rate. Crew members working below deck quickly realized that something was terribly wrong. As engineers inspected the damage, they discovered the terrible truth. Several watertight compartments were already flooding. Water continued spilling from one compartment into another, destroying the ship's balance. Chief designer Thomas Andrews carefully reviewed the damage before delivering the devastating conclusion to Captain Edward Smith. The Titanic would sink. A heavy silence fell across the bridge. There was only one option left: evacuate as many people as possible. The crew immediately began preparing the lifeboats. However, the ship carried nowhere near enough lifeboats for everyone on board. At first, many passengers refused to leave, believing it was only a precaution. But as the bow slowly disappeared beneath the icy Atlantic, panic spread throughout the ship. Lifeboats were lowered one after another while the crew struggled to maintain order until the very end. Hundreds of people remained trapped aboard. Remarkably, the ship's orchestra continued playing music, hoping to calm frightened passengers during the final moments. As the angle of the ship grew steeper, many stood silently, accepting the inevitable. By now, there was no turning back. Minute by minute, the Titanic sank deeper into the freezing Atlantic. Crew members worked tirelessly to launch every remaining lifeboat while struggling to keep order among the passengers. Officers remained remarkably calm, doing everything they could to save as many lives as possible. But despite their efforts, there simply were not enough lifeboats for everyone on board. The ocean looked strangely peaceful beneath the dark night sky. Yet behind that silence was unimaginable fear. Hundreds of people stood on the decks, watching helplessly as the sea slowly claimed the ship. Families were separated. Friends said their final goodbyes, and many continued hoping for a miracle until the very last moments. As the bow disappeared beneath the surface, the stern rose high into the air. The enormous hull slowly slipped beneath the freezing Atlantic until only floating debris remained on the dark water. Hours later, the RMS Carpathia finally arrived and rescued those who had survived the disaster. For the survivors, the nightmare would remain with them for the rest of their lives. Within days, newspapers around the world reported the tragedy. Official investigations later revealed that multiple iceberg warnings had been received before the collision, yet the ship maintained its speed. The disaster also exposed the tragic shortage of lifeboats and led to major changes in international maritime safety regulations. For more than 70 years, the Titanic remained hidden beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Then, in 1985, oceanographer Robert Ballard and his team finally discovered the wreck nearly 3,800 meters below the surface. The once magnificent ship had been broken into two massive sections, resting silently on the ocean floor. Even today, the Titanic continues to disappear a little more each year. Saltwater, deep-sea bacteria, and the immense pressure of the ocean are slowly consuming what remains of this legendary vessel. Titanic was never just a ship. It became a timeless reminder that no matter how advanced human technology becomes, nature will always be stronger. The sinking of the Titanic shocked the entire world. It quickly became one of the deadliest peacetime maritime disasters in history. Families across Europe and North America waited anxiously for news, while newspapers published the names of both the survivors and the victims. The tragedy transformed international maritime safety forever. New regulations required every passenger ship to carry enough lifeboats for everyone on board. Continuous 24-hour radio monitoring also became mandatory, ensuring that emergency calls would never again go unheard. The disaster also led to the creation of the International Ice Patrol, an organization that still monitors iceberg activity in the North Atlantic today. More than a century later, ships continue to benefit from the lessons learned during that tragic night. Although the wreck now rests nearly 4 kilometers beneath the Atlantic Ocean, scientists believe it will not remain there forever. Saltwater, powerful underwater currents, and unique bacteria are slowly consuming the steel structure year after year. One day, the Titanic may disappear completely, leaving behind only its remarkable story. Yet even if the ship is eventually lost to the ocean, the lessons of Titanic will continue to live on. It remains a powerful reminder that confidence without caution can lead to unimaginable consequences, and that nature will always command the final word.